Hi, welcome to this series where I'm going through the ITIL4 practices individually and giving you the main headline points you need to be aware of in order to help you build your base ITIL4 knowledge. I'll also discuss some of my real-world applications of these practices in the various organisations. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like and click the bell to get those updates. Okay, so let's get to it. Today I'm going to be covering off service validation and testing, which is from the service management practice. Quick reminder, there's 34 practices. You've got general management practices, you've got service management practices, and you've got technical management practices. Service validation and testing sits in service management practices. A practice is a set of organizational resources designed for performing work or for accomplishing an objective. Okay, so the purpose of service validation and testing from the ITIL4 perspective is to ensure that new or changed products and services meet defined requirements. So the definition of a service value is based on input from customers, from business objectives, certainly in some cases in the environments I work in, regulatory requirements, and it's a document as part of the value chain activity of design and transition. More on that in a minute. But the value chain, remember, you've got plan, improve, engage, design and transition, obtain and build, and deliver and support there. So the inputs are used to establish measurable quality and performance indicators that supports the definition of assurance criteria and testing requirement. So if we split this practice into two parts, you've got service validation and then you've got testing. So service validation is about establishing deployment and release management acceptance criteria. So for example, let's just make sure that it's ready for production. So it's not just being thrown over the fence into IT operations. It's ready for production. It's production ready, and then it's been verified and it's been tested. So acceptance criteria, typically you want to be seeing utility activity, you want to be seeing warranty activity as well. And you will have built that knowledge up from the customer, from the particular sector you're in. There may be regulatory requirements, risk management, there may be some specific security requirements, or some specific business requirements. The service validation activity of this practice is about establishing, it's verifying, it's documenting both utility and warranty. So we're thinking fit for use, fit for purpose here, and it's assurance criteria that will form the basis and the scope and the focus of the testing activities. So really important when it comes to service validation, think holistically, think end to end. Don't just see a service as an island and it's on its own. Think holistically. It's one of those guiding principles. Think end to end. There's lots of elements to do with this service. There's a network, there's a data center, perhaps there's some cloud, perhaps there's some service providers, maybe a database, then you've got clients, then you've got servers, databases, data centers, all sorts of things. It's not just a single service. It consists of lots of different elements to it. So really think through holistically, think end to end, and then focus on that fit for use, fit for purpose element. Testing. So if we and again, I sort of have my QA hat on here. You've got your functional tests and you've got your non-functional tests. And again, from a utility and from a warranty perspective here. So utility is about functional testing and warranty is the non-functional testing. Functional testing, it's a quality assurance. You'll see that abbreviated to QA quite often. It's a QA process. It's a type of black box testing that it uses test cases on the spec of the software component under that test. So functions are tested by giving them inputs, and you sort of you feed it, if you like, and you go, here's an input, and then you wait for it to come out the other side, and you then investigate and examine what comes out the other side, the outputs. And functional testing, there's lots of different types of functional testing. Terminology you may well have heard of, things like unit testing, component testing, smoke testing, sanity testing, regression testing, UI testing, API testing, integration testing, all different types of functional testing. So unit testing, as an example, you're just looking at a single view, a tiny component of the whole system. System test, as you might imagine, that includes absolutely everything. That's the software, that's the platform it's running, it's the overall testing. Integration testing, as you might imagine, it's looking at, are there other elements, are there other integration points in there, upstream and downstream? Are there dependencies, interdependencies, parent and child software modules? How does that all work together? Regression testing is exactly as the word sounds. It's, well, you're testing whether that previously working function still works, basically. Then if we think about non-functional testing, so again, think warranty here. Non-functional testing is basically the testing of an application or a system for the non-functional requirement elements of it. So in this case, you're thinking around how it operates, rather than the behavior, if that makes sense. So software performance is a term that includes many specific parts. Does it perform well? Well, part of that perform well element might be, well, is it reliable? Can you scale it up? Is it flexible? Typical non-functional testings I've come across, you'll see performance testing, load testing, stress testing, volume testing, and there are tools out there that will help with these type of tests. You can buy software tools that will deliberately add load onto your system, or add stress, or put volume through it. Security tests, so perhaps you've got a particular compliance element, or that there's a requirement to do pen testing on a regular basis, maybe quarterly, and you need to produce those reports. Or vulnerability testing, perhaps as a regulator somewhere behind the scenes saying, show me your quarterly pen tests, so show me your vulnerability testing plans. And then upgrades, installations, recovery type tests, so ops testing, but the general things you would expect around backups, what monitoring's in place. If it's high availability, the failover component, the reporting, the recovery, does it actually work? Security, just as a particular example, you're looking at safety as an element in terms of customer information, or that the various performance tests that you've completed, you then look at it, you evaluate it, and just see how has it responded to these stresses, or how's that impacted usability, and you then go through a comparison activity. Certainly in Sarbanes-Oxley or health care sectors, there's a real strong emphasis on your non-functional tests for security and compliance testing in particular. If we then just very quickly move on to the service value chain. Service value chain sits right in the middle of the service value system. Service value system You've got your guiding principles, your governance, service value chain, right at the middle. Your practices, 34 of those, split across general, service management and technical practices. And then you've got continual improvement. But your service value chain, I like to remember this as PIDOD. So plan, improve, engage, design and transition, obtain and build, deliver and support. The first letter of each of those, if you take that, you come up with the acronym PIDOD, which produces your products and your services, which of course then goes on to delivering value. In the service validation and testing practice, all of those areas are touched upon apart from the plan activity. Main focus, however, is around the design and transition, and also the obtain and build. Those are the areas where there's a lot of activity for service validation and testing. So that's it really, service validation and testing in a nutshell. Please continue to subscribe and like, and I'll keep on providing updates and information around the ITIL4 practices. Thank you.